to be back here?
Well, we came on a golf cart from the other end zone, opposite of where the players come out, and we're riding in through the tunnel out into the stadium, and I can't tell you how many memories started to sprout. Well, and I'm sitting there in the golf cart with E.J. Manuel, so he's got his memories from his day. I got my memories from my day, and it was pretty cool just getting a chance to come out there and see without all the people in it.
What's the last time you were here for it?
For a game, I can't remember. I guess when I was at Miami, and I don't know if that's the one I think we did win that one. In the last second, in the back of the end zone, we caught a touchdown that got reviewed, and by the grace of God at the time, it was a touchdown. But that was the last time I was in here. But in that game, Florida State had scored late, and the fans were just going nuts. When I went back to watch the TV copy, it brought back the memories of what the fan base can do too. So it's always mixed emotions when you play against the team you lived at and you started your career. 15 years at Florida State, a lot of history.
Did you start here in like 1985, 86?
Well, I think it was 85. 86, unfortunately, was the year that Pablo Lopez was shot and killed. But it did give Coach Bowden an opportunity to present the gospel to the team, and I actually prayed to receive Christ that very next day. So that was by far the most meaningful thing that ever happened to me here.
I assume every time you come back, you remember that meeting and that speech.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. And I do speak quite a bit, and I love to give my testimony of that story. Obviously not the fact that Pablo was shot and killed, but the good that came from it. And I changed my life not only on this earth, but for all of eternity. So it's a big blessing to me.
When you were here in 85, did you think it was a sleeping giant? Right? I mean, they were good. They were 8 wins, 9 wins. Did
Right.
you think what was about to happen was going to happen?
I didn't know any better. I was just a young kid. I came from Miami when Miami was trying to become great. So, the first national championship for Miami was 1983. I finished in 82. So I tasted a little bit of it, but I didn't even think in terms of that. I was just trying to do the best job I could, as a young graduate assistant coach. And the wild story about that is I was able to coach quarterbacks as a graduate assistant coach under Coach Bowden, which I didn't know how big of a deal that was back then, but got to coach some great players and be a part of a dynasty, truly.
What has stood out to you about what Coach Norvell has done here over the last 3 years,
Right.
especially with this season, how it's trending?
Well, what he inherited was not locked and loaded and ready to go. There's some things that he had to get done, and a lot of times the pain comes before the glory. And so there's been some painful times for sure, but it's to be expected. Rarely do you get a job that's where his program's humming 100% and there's nothing to do but keep steering. So there was some heavy lifting that had to get done, and I think he's done it well. I think the players know he's a genuine human being, and I think they trust him. And if they didn't have that trust, the success they're having now wouldn't be happening.
How big is it for this conference for Florida State to play like this?
Well, I mean, let's face it. When the ACC added Florida State and Miami, they expected Florida State and Miami of the 90s or the 80s or whatever. I guess it was more the 90s. Kind of expecting Clemson, Miami, Florida State, 3 national contenders every year. So I think it's not only big for the league, for Miami and Florida State to get back, but I think for the college football nation, I think people are kind of getting tired of the Big Four, so to speak, or the Big Five. And they'd like to see more players truly make a run of this thing. So hopefully Florida State's well on their way to do that.
Is that neat? I think they just announced they sold out the game tomorrow night. It's the first time in a long time they've had a home sellout here. Is that neat for you to see this community and this program?
It is. I mean, that's one of the questions we're going to ask Coach Norvell. Is this what he had envisioned when he came to Florida State? This type of atmosphere, this type of support. And the Florida State fans are awesome, but let's face it, all fans are better when you're winning and you're playing the kind of football everybody could be proud of, and that's what they're doing here now.
Y'all set inside the stadium tomorrow? You get to be set up in there?
Where's our set? Is it inside the stadium?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be inside.
I guess how excited are you to get to kind of be a part of that?
Oh,
game?
it's going to be wild.
Crowds,
It's going to be wild, and you know, there'll be times we're on the air that we won't be able to hear a thing because we'll be covering other games at halftime or something of another game, and the fans will be going crazy, or the band will be doing their thing. So in studio, it's a lot easier to do your job, but it's not as much fun as when you get to come on campus.